Did it here?
Yes.
Yeah, I could do that, but then I'm breaking the options page.
Yes.
The whole point of the options page is that we don't want to have to even go into report mode or design mode. Part of the reason for that is sometimes with really large reports, if I'm in report mode and I need to make a change, I worked with a client, they had a very strange way of doing things. They pulled all their GL data out of their database, put it into Excel, and then did VLOOKUPs for all their reports. I'm like, why wouldn't you just build it? Oh, well, this is what we're comfortable with. This is what we're used to. I said, that's fine. But the problem they had is they hard-coded everything. So they had 17 different companies and about 2,000 GL accounts. And every time they wanted to take a change and make the date something different, it'd take them about a half hour to open up the file, a half hour to go into design mode, because it has to undo all those calculations, and then about 45 minutes to then go and rerun the report. So anytime they wanted to do this, it was like, who's got about 2 hours on their hand to sit around and babysit this thing? I showed them a better way, and part of it was implementing this option. So they never had to go into design mode, they could just refresh it, changes the date. We optimized it so much that it took their report down from taking about 2 hours to run to less than 2 minutes. Because they just did it a very inefficient way. So what we wanted to do is we are going to say, hey, these are the options. Right? In this instance, document type was a hard-coded filter.
Options.
Our posting date was a report option, and our salesperson code are our options, right? We want them to be able to change the salesperson code and the posting date. So on our options page, we're going to add some new keywords. The first one in column A is option. Anything that we want to be a report option, we're going to go ahead and label that row an option. Anything we don't want to be a report option, i.e. a hard-coded filter, I'm going to go ahead and leave that blank. Now I've noted which ones I want to be options. Now I need to add some correlating data here. I'm going to say this is the title of my filter, so in C1, and in D1 I'm going to say this is the value of that filter. Once I add title, value, and option to my report options page, if you hit refresh, you should get that little window.
Oh.
If you didn't get it, check your pluralization. Sometimes people say options. Sometimes people say titles.
Oh, I did it on my report.
So yeah, let's make sure we're doing it on our option page. Add the option to column A, title and value to row 1. And once you do that, you can now change these values. When I do that, it'll pass it into my options page, which will then pass it into my report. Voila. Now I don't ever have to go back into design mode. I hit refresh. I want to change my salesperson code. I want everybody again. Change that and I rerun it. Yes?
Can we make those drop downs?
No, because they're never going to, well, yes. In that little window, yes. Because we're going to give it some more information, right? If I refresh this, right, maybe I don't know my salesperson codes.
Right.
I don't know my GL accounts. So we're going to add one more keyword to the option page. Next to value, let's add the word lookup.
My A and one row column disappear.
Yep, when you're in report mode, it should disappear.
Oh.
That's what this auto plus hide, right? That's one of our keywords, hide. So it's hiding this row and this column.
All right.
And it's just hiding our JET keywords from the viewer. There's no reason for them to see it, but that's what drives JET. So now that we've got our lookup here, it would be really nice if we could look up that salesperson code in the database. Right? Have somebody choose some values. So where that column or that row and that column intersect, I'm going to put in my new function. It's going to be an NL function. If we drop this down, we should find one that says lookup. And we can read the description, define a lookup function for use with the report options feature. This is the only time you will ever use the lookup function. is when you're building your report options page. What table do I want to go to? Well, I'm going to go to my salesperson purchaser table. That's where I find those salesperson codes. And what do I want them to be able to choose? I want them to choose code. Don't choose salesperson code. Choose code. Okay. I can apply a filter. So if I want to limit it down, okay, I want only salespeople that are active, or salespeople that have a specific area code assigned to them, or a job title, active, inactive, those type of things. We can filter that information. Right now, we're just going to bring back everybody. So I'm going to hit OK. If you do it correct, it's just going to say lookup in that cell, but if you click on it, in the formula bar, you should see your lookup function.
Okay, so what if we didn't want to have that posting date as a set value? Can I put a range?
With the posting date, that is going to be really tough, because what you're going to have to do is create some sort of, in fact, you'd almost have to create a secondary file, because you'd have to say, you can choose this day, or this day, or this day, or this day, or this day. If that's a 6 months range, you have to do every single day, or you create a set of ranges, right? This date range, this date range, or this date range. There's no way for you to really limit it with that. That would be really, really difficult to say, well, you're only allowed to choose these date ranges.
No. Can I allow the user to select a range instead of us?
Oh, you mean do a lookup with a date? Or, because right now they can choose a range.
Oh, they can choose a range.
Right, I can enter in anything I want here. 12, 31,
Okay.
08, ... Yeah. It's just another
Because
value.
we put option there, sorry.
Yep. So it's just another option that we've got that they can put in whatever they want.
Okay.
So typically with a date, you would never do a lookup. If I did a lookup, it's going to go to the date table,
Yeah, I
and it's
gotcha.
going to be a mess.
Is there any verbiage that you can add to tell them what the format needs to be?
Yes, I will show you that momentarily. Show one more thing. So once you add that lookup, we get these little arrows here. We can see posting date, it's grayed out. But our salesperson code, I click on that.
Oh.
Here's a list of my salespeople I can choose, or the codes that I can choose from. Now, anybody remember who all these people are? No. I remember Janice Joplin.
Yeah.
I remember Tara Money, Sherman Nader. That's about it.
So can we do a combo box?
What we're going to do is we're going to go back into our lookup. Let's delete that field code.
Oh, unexpected error.
Unexpected error.
The big one.
All right, so hit OK.
Nothing.
There we go. Okay. So now we have lookup, salesperson, purchaser, and our field. What we're going to do is we're going to create a field cache, and this is how we could also limit results. I can come in and say, okay, well, I know I need code, so I'm going to single click on code. It's highlighted. Hold down my control, scroll on down and find name. So now I've got both of those highlighted. Once I've got them both selected, I let go of control and hit enter, and I should now have curly bracket, code, comma, name, curly bracket. I've created a field cache.
Oh wow.
So now when I hit OK and I hit refresh and I look at my drill down, give me the code, give me the name associated with that code.
Can you pull that down so I can look at the formula real quick?
I certainly can.
Thank you.
How can we select them again?
Sure. We'll go through that again. So I'm going to delete those. I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to single click on code. I'm going to hold down control.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to scroll down to find name. I'm going to single click on that. Once I've got them both highlighted, I let go of control, hit enter on my keyboard.
Wait. So once I have them highlighted, what?
Once you have them highlighted, let go of the control key, hit enter.
Ah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But I can choose any number of things. I can come in and say, okay, I want code, I want their commission percent, I want their email, let's get their,
Now you're just going crazy.
yeah, I can get their name, I grab all those. And so now when I refresh, the viewer sees, well, they didn't have any email address, but I got their code, their commission percent, their name, anything that's associated with it.
Okay, good.
So that can help you kind of, let them choose those values. Typically when you're creating a lookup, you're gonna wanna go to those master level tables. Customer, vendor, item. The problem if I try and go to a transactional level one, is those are really big tables. And it's gonna have to go through all those to find those values and then bring those back. So you could see some slowdown. Now I'm gonna show something I don't normally show, and it's something I have on my list, but I'm gonna do it right now. Let's say I say, you know what? I've got a bunch of salespeople. Most of them are completely inactive, but they're still in my database. I don't have a way to filter them out. I'm gonna create my own table of values. Just like I would with the field cache, I'm gonna recreate that. I'm gonna do a curly bracket, double quote. I'm gonna say, well, you can choose JJ, double quote, comma, double quote. Let's do KL, double quote, and I think BD was one. So I'm only gonna say you're allowed to choose these 3 people. I didn't need to tell it what's the field. Well, I can call it anything I want. I'm gonna call it salesperson. This is not in the book. But now when I hit OK and I hit refresh, I'm only allowed to choose those 3 people. I've hard coded and said these are the things you're allowed to choose from, instead of accessing the database. So I will make a note to send you a file that has something like this so you have it for your frame of reference. Like I said, I don't normally teach this in the training. It's more advanced functionality, but we've had some very specific questions about how could I limit this or do that, and it seems like it would be something that would be helpful for you.
Can you show us the formula again?
I certainly can.
Yeah, for instance, like if one
So,
of our area managers.
it
was
works
in the
out to
region
be-
that's not been in the system yet, we can-
Like this. I'll put it up here. So it's the curly bracket, quote, value, comma, double quote, value, that. And you just keep going along with the other curly bracket on the other side. That's your table. In the field, you just give it a name. There we go.
Can the same process be done in a filter? This is where it goes back to, not that we're gonna have 10 filters, but can the same thing be the trick to fix the limitation on the filters?
The filters is a little bit different. We actually have a keyword that will allow us to just grab stuff.
Okay.
So we'll definitely cover that. But yeah, this field cache would say, hey, you know what? I only want you to choose these values. So I've done this sometimes where I needed to do some sort of kind of trickery, and I just say, okay, show zeros or don't show zeros, true or false. You know, I don't have anything in my database that's a field that's true or false in any table. So I just created my own little table. And if this is true, I showed something. If it was false, I didn't show it, type of things. But if you're going to send this off to specific people and they only have access, say, you know what, I only want you to be able to choose these 2 divisions or these 2 companies. That's a way we could limit that information for them instead of having access to all of them. So now while we're in report mode, I can refresh it. I can choose from my values. I can run it, except I have no BDs. And I have some KL here. Okay. But if we remember back yesterday, I said we want to avoid going across the sheet, and that's why we put our options page on one page, and then we brought these values over here onto this page. So we want to avoid that cross sheet. Well, we certainly did that here, right? It's looking at these values. But here's what's really happening. This says, okay, well, I need to get the posting date from D3. It says, great. Goes up to D3, and D3 says, I don't know what you're talking about. Go talk to options page, D3. Oh, now I know what that value is. Bring it on back over here and plug it in. Then it's going to hit salesperson code. and do that same thing. Document type, that same thing. And guess what? If I change this to star, it's gonna do that here and here and here and here. And then if we remember for our total commissionable transactions, we're looking at that posting date and document type here. We're looking at our here, so it's 2, 2, 2, it just keeps adding up. So we've actually made it kind of worse, the way we've done this. So we need to fix that. We want to break this little middleman and say, you know what, we don't need you to just pass along the information, I need you to actually have the value. So what we're going to do is on our report page, we're going to finally break out our Swiss Army knife, the little orange NP function. So in cell D3, let's go ahead and click on NP. We are suddenly going to see a what with 22 arguments that we can possibly put in. What we're going to choose is our very first one, eval. Evaluate a formula and break cell dependency to improve performance. That's what we want. Once I choose eval, the only thing it says is, what do you want me to evaluate? I can put in a formula, or I can say, you know what, can you go over to the options page, look at that cell,